Gender.
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 Gender. Gender.
Michelle Obama. Is she a woman? Is she a man?
There are 3 genders, 4 genders, even 5.
Total moron claimed that there are more than 2 genders.
Caitlyn Jenner chose her identity.
6 months in jail, $2,500 fine for just going into pee.
It's just a man in a dress, isn't it?
Is this going to confuse you? I know it's going to confuse me.
What is gender?
Yeah.
Alrighty, gender.
Oh gosh. Right off.
How can I say it in words? Like,
Your biological sex.
Your physical, like, sex, basically.
gender is what we use to distinguish the difference between, I would say, 2 different types of people.
That's the right idea. Everyone in these interviews has the right idea of what gender is because it's what they grew up with knowing. This is called intersectionality, which basically means how someone thinks about a specific topic due to their previous experiences. This is why I've chosen to interview people of multiple races and genders so as to acquire the broadest scope of experiences possible. This is really interesting when it comes to gender. What is gender? I mean, the obvious answer is male and female, masculine and feminine, boy and girl. But what exactly is a boy and what is a girl? Now you might think, dude, I learned this in elementary school. A boy has a penis, a girl has a vagina. Super easy. Well, you're right, and you're wrong. You definitely explained the concept of physical sex, which determines who plays what role in the act of reproduction and bearing children. However, that's not necessarily gender. To break it down, let's look at what I call the great spectrum of life. Here we see 2 different spectrums representing 3 different aspects of our mental identity. On the first spectrum, we have physical sex. The first end of the spectrum is where you'll find female, the default combination of XX chromosomes that result in a person being born with a vagina. On the way other side of the spectrum, we have the male, the result of a Y chromosome being introduced to the mix, causing a combination of XY. Simple, right? Actually, believe it or not, there is a middle. These people are referred to as intersex. This spectrum is often what people think of when it comes to gender. However, this is not necessarily the case. Gender has a completely different spectrum of its own. Courtney Act, a finalist on RuPaul's Drag Race, puts it best.
Gender and sex are 2 different things. Simply put, your gender is about what's between your ears and your sex is about what's between your legs.
On the one side, we have the male, which, by society's definition, is tough, manly, likes beer way too much, and wears the same cargo shorts for 4 days straight even though it's winter. On the other side, we have the female, flirty, bossy, loves drinking wine at paint nights with her girlfriends, and don't even talk to her until she's had her coffee.
Don't talk to me till I've had coffee.
All right, let me just...
What did I say?
I'm pretty sure this is what we all think of when we think of boy and girl. But the real question is, why? Who decides what is considered feminine and what's considered masculine? By the 1960s, most superstores had separated their toy aisles into blue for boys and pink for girls, respectively. In the pink aisles, you would find mostly dolls, and in the blue aisles, you would find action figures. What's the difference, you ask? Marketing. Both toys are practically identical in concept. However, dolls are marketed to glam and fashion, and action figures were marketed to conquer and destroy. The funny thing is that pink hasn't always been for girls, because not even 40 years prior were girls wearing blue. Blue was seen as a softer color, fit for a lady's soft and tender nature. So with all this flip-flopping with what belongs to what gender, it really proves that gender is just how society defines it. Gender, in and of itself, is a social construct. No one wants to use that term for fear of being called a snowflake, but it's true. So if gender in and of itself is whatever society defines it as, then why do double standards exist when it comes to gender? But once we observe these double standards, they're quite obvious. So the question is, what is a double standard?
It's always expected that the man would pay for the meal, but I feel like most people are okay with either one or splitting it.
You can have, like, male bosses that are, like, bossy, sassy, and, like, all that, too.
Male athletes earn their living just by their skills, but when it comes to female athletes, sometimes it seems as though they have to exploit themselves.
According to the Oxford Dictionary, a double standard is a rule or principle which is unfairly applied in different ways to different people or groups. We're talking about the sexual double standard. It refers to the conceptualization that men and women are judged differently relative to the same behaviors.
You're lying to see that!
Get the... I got a hot.
How you gonna sit here and lie? I saw you naked with him. It was you. You don't hit no female, man.
God.
You don't do that. that to no woman.
911, I'd like to report a crime.
Okay, cool. But why do these double standards exist? Society holds different expectations for men and women's behavior. There's a distinguished perspective of what is appropriate for each sex. This is completely arbitrary given that gender is not really something that is tangible. In America, there is an increasing attention being put on gender roles and what exactly they are. The more that time goes on, the more people are realizing how absurd these gender roles are. A great example of gender unity is one summer camp in Livonia that Lauren Meter used to attend. Camp Swoosh is a summer camp at the Livonia Community Rec Center. The camp prides itself on having fun, but more importantly, equality. The major representation of this is right in the camp shirts. Every camper receives a yellow t-shirt with black text across the front that says Camp Swoosh. Yellow is a gender-neutral color so that the boy and girl campers all wear the same color and they don't feel like they're being labeled a boy or a girl. This past year, the color of the camp shirt changed to lime green, another gender-neutral color. They also encourage the girls to participate in all the gym games and encourage all the boys to participate in the crafts. They don't force them into these activities, but when they do participate, they seem to enjoy all the activities, even if they are more girlish or boyish. By taking steps towards inclusivity of people who may not fit within the classic gender spectrum, we can not only dramatically decrease the amount of suicides related to this matter, but make better living conditions for everyone in the US. Gender is arbitrary, and yet it's not. Humans are categorical creatures, and it's in our nature to sort and label so as to establish peace in what would be intellectual anarchy. By opening our minds to the possibility that there may be people who exist outside our current boundaries is something that we as a society have to accept in order to survive. Everyone has the right to validation. Everyone has the right to be accepted. Blue is not just for boys anymore.